Hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Tuesday. As you can probably tell, this video is going to be soft-spoken. I've received a lot of questions from people recently asking me to do some true crime soft-spoken ones, and I agree. I much prefer soft-spoken ASMR to whispered ASMR. And I've learned through this YouTube channel that you're never going to be able to make everyone happy. But I want to, give something to the people who don't like whispers too. I know most of you prefer whispers, and I'm sure I'm going to get comments saying this would have been much better if it was whispered. But I do want to switch it up now and then. I think it's good to have variety. I will make most of my true crime videos whispered, but for today I'm just gonna do it soft spoken. So I'm officially back from my Orlando vacation. I've been back for a week and a half now. I feel like I've kicked jet lag, like it's been a week and a half. I should be over it, but I'm still sleeping on US time, which is really annoying. I don't go to sleep. I sleep anywhere between 4 and 7 a.m. and then I get up really late and then I work really late and then I try to go to bed early and it doesn't work. So I feel kind of weird. I have a really bad headache today as well, which I'm sure comes from the bad sleeping pattern. So I wasn't planning to record this video today. I thought, I just can't do it. But I knew I was going to get a lot of complaints about no True Crime Tuesday, so powering through. I don't know what's going on with my setup today. I had friends staying over right before I went to Orlando, so I had to move all my recording equipment into the storage room, and I moved it all back, and it's not quite the same. I'm not loving this setup. My laptop is really far away, and I do have some notes to look at, so apologies if I look away too much. So today's case is going to be about Susan Cox Powell, and it was requested by L. Cushman, so thank you very much for that. Apparently this is a really well-known case, and it's quite popular. I had never heard of it, and researching this case was a wild ride. Like every time I thought this has got to be the end of it, something else happened, and it's a really tragic and sad case, and I will let you know that there's some really horrific things in it. So I just want to have said that. Also, if you're gonna ask why I'm doing this soft-spoken or whispered, don't bother. I'll delete your comment because I put a disclaimer on these videos at the beginning of every single video to say why I'm whispering, and I still get people ask why I'm whispering. So I just get frustrated with it and delete it. Anyway, let's get into it. So Susan was 28 years old when she went missing on December 7th of 2009. She was a cosmetologist, and she was married to a man named Josh Powell. They met when she was 19 years old through their church, and they got married in 2001 when she was 20 years old, and they lived in Washington. They seemed to be a very happy couple, very in love. They appeared to have a very healthy relationship, and they had 2 children, Charlie and Braden, both boys. Now they wanted to move to West Valley City in Utah to be closer to Josh's family. So his sister and his mother and most of his family lived there. And that was initially the reason why they moved. Okay, I tried to move my laptop a bit closer because that far to the side doesn't work for me. I hope it stays put. So anyway, Shortly after moving to West Valley City in Utah, it became clear that their marriage was not what everyone thought it was. And she confided in some of her best friends that Josh was a very controlling person. I think the wording that people used is that he owned her, that he was so controlling that she just wasn't really allowed to have her own life. He also had insane spending habits. He spent a lot of money, and he spent them all on Susan's credit cards. So he racked up $200,000 in debt, all in Susan's name. And he filed for bankruptcy in 2007. Now, more and more things started coming to light about their marriage. It turns out that they didn't actually move to West Valley City because they wanted to be closer to Josh's family. They actually moved because they wanted to get away from Josh's father. Apparently, he was making sexual advances towards Susan pretty much since the day she married Josh. To this day, though, he claims that she was making advances on him and that they had a consensual affair, which creeps me out anyway. I mean, that's your daughter-in-law. He even wrote her a love song and put it on his website. So he was clearly just insanely infatuated with Susan. So things were getting progressively worse in Susan and Josh's marriage, and Susan started to fear for her life. In June of 2008, she wrote a will, and she said that if she were to die unexpectedly, no one should believe that it was an accident. And she ended her will with, for family and friends of Susan, all except Josh Powell, my husband. I don't trust him. And then in July, she recorded herself on camera, documenting all their possessions in a video. She said that she did this in case something happened to her or her family, that everyone would know, like, what they owned, I guess. You can find that video on YouTube if you search for it. I saw a clip of it. It's a bit weird. Like, she kind of describes Josh as being lazy. She comments on some of the shit he bought on her credit card. Like, you could clearly tell that she was not happy with him at all. So on December 7th, 2009, Charlie and Braden, their two kids, didn't show up for daycare. Susan didn't show up for work, and Josh had not been seen since the day before. Now, there's two scenarios of what people said happened on that day. So I'm just going to give you them both. They're not very different, but scenario one is that the daycare noticed the children were missing and tried to get in contact with Susan and Josh, but couldn't. And then they called Josh's sister to find out where the children were. She immediately knew something was wrong, and she went to the house, but there was nobody there. So she called the police. And then scenario two is pretty much the same, except that the daycare called Susan's parents, and they called the police to do a welfare check. Now, either way, police went to the house and found it empty. And while they were searching the house, Josh pulled up in the driveway with the two kids, but Susan was nowhere to be found. Inside the house, they found Susan's phone and her purse, which are pretty important objects if you're going to disappear of your own accord. Like, if you want to disappear, I think those are the two items you'd most likely take, your phone and your purse. They also found two giant box fans pointing at a spot on the living room floor, like it was drying something, and it looked like the spot had been scrubbed. Now, Josh told police that he'd taken the boys on a spontaneous camping trip the night before at midnight, and that Susan was asleep, and she decided to stay in bed and she didn't want to go with them, and that was the last time he saw her. Now, on December 10th, the police searched the camping area, but there were no signs that there was a campsite there. And also, there was a blizzard the night before. So, it was December in Washington, so it's very unlikely that they would have gone camping in that weather. Police also said that Josh's demeanor didn't show at all that he was worried or that he was even interested in finding his wife. However, the two boys did say that they were with their dad that night. Now, to be honest, I only just realized this now. I don't actually know how old the boys were at the time. I didn't look that up, but they were in daycare. And given that they were only married for 8 years, I'm going to guess that they were somewhere between 4 and 7 or something like that. Like, they would have been very little. So police found traces of Susan's blood in the house, and they also found a life insurance policy taken out in Susan's name for $1.5 million. 10 days later, Josh completely cleared out Susan's retirement fund. Like, he just withdrew all the money. He canceled all her upcoming appointments, and apparently, I think this is more rumor than fact, but apparently he told coworkers how easy it would be to hide a body in an abandoned mine. In an abandoned mine shaft. That seems really weird to me. I don't know if he actually did that. If your wife is missing, aside from the fact that you might have done it and absolutely do not care, it would be really stupid to go tell your colleagues, hey, do you know how easy it is to hide a body? I mean, you're already under suspicion, so I don't know if that's actually true or not. But it is like canceling all our upcoming appointments, I have no problem with. I think if your partner has gone missing, it's safe to say that they're not going to make those appointments. So if you want to go ahead and cancel them, fair enough. But clearing out her retirement fund, that indicates that she's not coming back. So I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit here, timeline-wise, because I don't know how to fit it all in chronologically. So a year later, workers at a daycare center started noticing some strange behavior in Charlie and Braden. Charlie had told a daycare worker that mommy was dead, and Braden had drawn a picture of his mother tied up in the trunk of a minivan, supposedly set at a summer camp that he was at. He also literally told the daycare worker that that's what he drew. Now, the summer camp is most likely the camping trip that he was on with his dad. He also told a daycare worker that his brother, mommy, and daddy were all in a car together, and then mommy and daddy got out, and mommy never came back. So Josh moved him and the boys back to Washington to live with his father not even a month after Susan disappeared. So this daycare thing happened over there. And this is really weird, right? Because the father was already a sketchy guy. I mean, he was infatuated with Susan, and they supposedly moved away from him to get away from him. And then Josh just picked up and moved his kids in with him. So authorities did a mental health check on Josh to make sure that he was mentally capable to take care of his kids. And they found some very unsettling things on Josh's father's computer. So they found over 4,000 pictures taken of Susan and other women without their knowing. The other women were neighbors, and they were all getting changed, like changing their clothes while he took these photos. They also found child pornography, including his teenage neighbors. So he was then arrested for possession of child pornography and voyeurism. So Josh then temporarily lost custody of the two boys, and they went to live with Susan's parents. Josh was granted supervised visitation rights on the weekends in a foster care center. And after this, Josh went on a rampage in numerous interviews, completely slamming Susan, talking about how she had mental health problems and how she had an affair and ran away with another man. So on February 3rd, 2012, so this is a few years later, Josh told a therapist that he wanted to reconcile with Susan's parents, I'm guessing in a bid to get his sons back. And they said that they would not consider it unless he could prove to them that he had nothing to do with Susan's disappearance. So 2 days later, Charlie and Braden went for their weekly visit, which was now supervised at his house. And shortly after the boys arrived, the house exploded. So a social worker who dropped the boys off said that Josh slammed the door shut in her face and wouldn't let her in. She was pounding on the door, but he wouldn't open it. And she heard him say, "Charlie, I've got a surprise for you." And then she heard Braden scream. So she immediately called 911. I heard that call. She was completely panicked. She said that she was supposed to be supervising the visit and he wouldn't let them in. And it was a really frustrating call to listen to because the operator did not understand what she was saying for the longest time. He also didn't seem to think that this was an urgent case, even though she made it clear that she was worried he was hurting the kids. He didn't really seem to think it was that important. And then she said that she was going to pull out of the driveway because she smelled gas. And shortly after that, the house exploded. So after an investigation, they concluded that Josh had set it up to blow up the house. But before that, he had taken a hatchet and killed both his sons. At least I hope that he killed both of them and that he didn't just injure them so they suffered even more. I don't think it actually said that he killed them, just that he used a hatchet on them before blowing up the house, which is just horrendous. And then he left a voicemail to his family and his lawyer saying that he was sorry for his actions, but he couldn't live without his boys, so he decided to just kill everyone. Now police kept searching for Susan, and they started investigating Josh's brother. And they found out that Josh, his brother, and his father owned a property rented a property in Oregon. Now, their theory is that Josh killed Susan while on this trip with their kids, then met up with his brother and father to hand the body to them so they could dispose of it. Josh's sister has always said that she believed Josh, his brother and father, had something to do with Susan's disappearance. She thought her brother was a monster. I don't know if you can hear that, but I think an oil truck just pulled up, so that's going to be a bit loud. But I'm almost done. So she decided to wear a wire once for the police and straight up walked into the house and said to Josh, "Where is her body? We need to bury her." But Josh didn't budge, and she said he showed absolutely no emotion in his face whatsoever. So police searched the rental property but didn't find anything, and then in 2013, Josh's brother jumped off the roof of a parking garage and killed himself, which means that virtually everyone who possibly knew what happened to Susan is now dead, aside from the father who's in jail. And that's really it. In May of 2013, police closed Susan's case, which, of course, has her parents extremely upset. I mean, they still want to know what happened to their daughter, but they probably never will because police are no longer investigating it. There's not really any theories here. I mean, I think most people believe that Josh killed her. I think the only question is why. I guess we'll never know that. So that was all for the case of Susan Cox Powell. I found this so horrific to research. When I read the part of the kids going into the house and it blowing up, I was like, no, he did not. But yeah, he killed the kids too. And like years later, this is like 3 years after she went missing. So, well, 2.5 years, but still, I don't know. I thought that was horrific. So anyway, thank you for watching. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.